In today's short video, let's solve Rosalind Bioinformatics Stronghold's second challenge, transcribing DNA into RNA. The problem states, an RNA string is a string formed from the alphabet containing A, C, G, and U. Given a DNA string T corresponding to the coding strand, its transcribed RNA string U is formed by replacing all occurrences of T in T with U in U. Given a DNA string T having length at most 100, return the transcribed RNA string of T, and again, this is a sample data set, sample output, and if you want more background regarding this particular problem, read this drop down. And essentially what this problem is asking for is, given this DNA string, simply replace all instances of T with U. There are many different methods that can be used to solve this particular problem, to replace characters in a given string, such as typecasting, slicing, and concatenation. With that in mind, the solution that will be used to solve is applying Python's inbuilt method called replace, which can be used to find and replace characters of any given string. So let's say S was assigned as the sample dataset, which is G, A, T, and so on, right? And in order to use the replace method, all you have to do is assign S dot replace which is, and then you want to pass in different arguments that's sort of applicable to this replace method, which is the old value, the new value, and then the current count, right, which is most of the time optional. These two old and new values, which is the string or substring or character that's going to be searched for. The news represents the string that is going to be replaced, and then the count is the number of occurrences that's going to happen. So in this case, it is important to keep in mind that the default is going to be all instances. So applying this sort of methodology or method, what's going to happen is the old is going to be represented as the character T, and then the new is going to be represented as the character U. And we're going to leave this count as default since it is optional, but these two are required. So in this case, what's going to happen is by applying this method, all instances of T is going to be replaced with U. Now let's move on to the coding solution. The particular coding platform that is used to solve this particular problem is Replit, and the programming language is Python. But keep in mind that you can technically use whatever language, whatever platform you're familiar with, but keep in mind that you do have to make sure that whenever you're submitting the solution, the formatting has to be sort of similar to what is expected under Rosalind. Right, so in this case, applying what we did in the conceptual whiteboarding session, first let's write out strand string, which will hold that sample output, right, which is just basically a string variable. And then what we're wanting to do next is we're going to actually write a function that's going to transcribe that given DNA string. So in this case, strand string is going to be passed, which is just the argument. And then since we're using the replace methodology, it's important to write out as a quick reminder that the arguments for replace are old, new, and count, right? The next is what we're going to do is we're going to redefine the strand string variable and then return that, right? So in this case, strand string was strand string dot replace T U, and then since we're not passing count, we're making sure that it's just being the default, which is going to replace all instances of T with a U, and then return strand string, right? And basically now what we're wanting to do is we want to make sure that we're going to pass in that original strand string and then just printing it out into the console. So in this case, strand transcribe. All right, let's see. Running, and as you see, it is sort of very similar to what is expected of AAU. So now let's see how we can just download this dataset and submit a viable solution. So download the dataset, open a TXT file, copy the entire TXT file input, paste that into the strand string, let the program run. And now what we're going to do is we're going to simply just copy the console's output and then pasting that into the Rosalind solution right here. Alright, let's see. There you go. Viable solution is correct. And before we let you go, it's important to keep in mind that with this particular problem, the time complexity is going to be O of n, considering that we are using the replace function, and then the space complexity is going to be O of 1, which is constant, as we are not using any extra space as we pass that this element right here and return the same element.